So the church has been, I think, present as far as missionary work, has been present about 30 to 40 years in Portugal. The mission was dedicated by President Monson, and it boomed at the beginning. A lot of people came to the church, but because of that, a lot of people are also less active through it. There's the records of the church. There's just many people that aren't quite as active anymore. But when I got there, Portugal was the leading mission as far as the European area in baptisms. Like, there were lots, which was surprising to many people because Europe has this connotation once you get to Europe that you're not going to baptize as many. But that wasn't the case for Portugal. We were having lots of success. The missionaries were having tons of faith, and it was really cool. I can't remember what it's like now, but when we were first there were a couple stakes in the Lisbon area. I remember they just dedicated a stake in Santarém. I think there's 2 stakes in Setúbal. There's a couple stakes up north. Portugal, so the mission itself takes up Portugal, the country, but then there's also 2 islands. There's the Azores and Madeira, which is closer to the coast of Africa, I think, than it is to Portugal. But the church right now, with President Torgan, we focus a lot on bringing people to Christ and baptizing. But President Fluger, my second president, there was a lot of focus on working on true conversion and also retention, keeping these people in there. And so the church has seen awesome growth. 2010, they announced the temple in Portugal, which was super exciting. That's literally a month or 2 before I got my mission call. And so it was really awesome, but they didn't break ground. Nothing was happening with the temple. We had the ground, but nothing was quite happening, there's multiple reasons for that, but they just broke ground it was December 5th. So there's a lot of success happening right now in Portugal. So it'd be cool to have a temple there. When I first got my call to Portugal, I looked at that on Wikipedia or some website, and it said that Portugal is about 95% Catholic, and that's way true. But I'd say, based off Elder Limperley's statistics, about 15 or 20% are actually practicing Catholics. So a lot of people, they kind of have some type of faith in God, but it's not enough to actually practice it and go to church every week. It's more like a Christmas, Easter type thing in Portugal. So there's tons of Catholics, which is so awesome because they already have this foundation of faith. They're so fun to teach. Because they already have this understanding of who God is, and they want to know more. So they were really fun to teach. There's also a good amount of Jehovah's Witnesses there, and Seventh-day Adventists. So those were fun to teach as well. It was cool to teach those 2 groups specifically because they are very, very faithful. It was cool to see someone from another religion or church be so faithful to it and to feel the way I do about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It was really cool and fun to teach them and to share our thoughts and stuff. So the Portuguese people, I don't want to stereotype Europe, but Europe does have this type of European people come off very shut in front of people. And that was the case, especially for the Portuguese people. I can tell, once they saw you, they'd avoid you or whatever. Or they kind of act like they're not looking at you. But honestly, Portuguese people are some of the most loving people I've ever met. There is that wall, there's that shell that they kind of protect themselves with. But once you break that, they're like the most loving people I've ever met. You're really like family. It's kind of cool. I would never consider a friendship with the Portuguese to be a friendship. It's like a family relationship to me with some of those people. And so I think it's super important as you begin teaching people in any mission, but especially in Portugal, that you really find excuses to love them. Because there's tons of reasons to love them. And that love for them will help you listen to them harder. It'll help you really want to know what they need. Why is the gospel so prevalent in their life? I wouldn't want to focus on specific things you can do in your teaching. I don't think that's as important as the feeling you have as you teach. If you love that person and you want to bring them closer to Christ, the Lord will inspire you to say and do things that you wouldn't otherwise do. And so I feel like that is the best way to teach people, because you're going to teach people in Portugal that are struggling. Everyone and their dog smokes in Portugal. Everyone and their dog drinks. And smoking is super hard with some of them. It's hard to let go. I taught a man actually who was known in the town for being a drunkard. He would drink so much. But once we started talking about it, they told me it's really pushing him to be to come into Christ. Things changed. We saw changes in him, and after his baptism, like, he wasn't drinking for a long period of time. And people would come up to us and be like, "What'd you do? Why won't he drink anymore? What'd you do to him? We want the old George back." And so it was fun to see that. So you'll face those people with that is common. Drinking, word of wisdom is a big thing. Law of chastity is a big thing in Portugal, just like any part of the world. But it's your love for the Savior and you love that person that can help them overcome those things. And I just feel like as you love them, like, you'll be able to teach with understanding. I served in one of the islands in Madeira. We called it Paraíso, paradise, because it's just beautiful. Like, it's incredible. I can't believe missionaries can go there. It's so nice. But for some reason, just the shirt and ties, everyone thought we were Jehovah's Witnesses. I'm not sure if the missionaries there right now feel the same way, but when I was there, everyone, when we'd approach them, would get after us and yell at us for being Jehovah's Witnesses and get out of my house. And so when we'd actually introduce ourselves, we'd say we're missionaries from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. We're not Jehovah's Witnesses, because it became so common. So that was one misconception I thought was hilarious. So in Portugal, I was there about 2 years ago, so I'm sure it's grown a lot. But because Portugal has been around for about 30, 40 years as far as the church, you see a wide variety of sizes as far as churches. So in Lisbon, for example, in Setúbal, there's stakes. I mean, they're very strong unities there. It's really cool. But so they have stakes from, wards like from 100 to 200 people. So it's definitely growing. But then I served in branches. I remember I served in a group, which is, for those that don't know, a group is so small and it doesn't have enough priesthood holders, multi priesthood holders, that's actually part of a branch. And it's just kind of far away. So I served in a group. My first Sunday there were 8 members. So serving in Portugal, you'll see everything. You'll see everything. When I served in Madeira, it was a branch of about 30 to 40 members that were active and coming, which is awesome. This is really good. So it's cool to see that wider variety in Portugal. And it was a shock to me coming from Utah, where there's 400, 500 per ward, So it was a big shock, shell shock, just like saying that. What's cool about Portugal is that it's kind of like the meeting place of all the Portuguese languages and cultures, which I loved, because it was always my dream to serve in Africa. Always my dream to serve in Africa. But because of that, because of Portugal, I actually got the best of both worlds, Europe and Africa. Because in Lisbon especially, there are so many Africans. There was one area that it's called Amadora. I taught one white person there, one actual white person there, and he was Angolan. He was from Africa, so it was kind of funny. But there's lots of Africans. There's people from Mozambique, Angola, Cape Verde, which are all African countries. What was interesting about Portugal, and then you have your Brazilians too. But what was interesting about Portugal is there's Romanians, lots of Romanians there. I met a lot of people from Uruguay, which is kind of random. So yeah, there's a good variety of people there. It's fun. So I served in Portugal from April 2011 to April 2013. In my areas, I started off in São Domingos, and I went to the islands of Madeira. I went to Faro, Amadora, and then Vila Nova de Gaia, and then I ended my mission in Lagos. So I spent about a year of my mission in the southern part of Portugal.